going to go ahead and get started. Welcome to Quilting Business Success. My name is Bobby Ware. I'm work with Gamble Tech Support. And tonight we have Cynthia Wheeler who's joined us today. We're really pleased to have Cynthia. So Cynthia, let's just go ahead and get right to it. Can you tell us, first of all, where are you located? Where's home for you?
I'm in Clayton, California, which is located in the foothills east of San Francisco.
Okay. And how long have you been long arm quilting?
16 years. At first, I had it for the first 10 years. I was using an HQ16 with pantos, rulers, and free motion. And the last 6 years, I've been using a 30-inch Gamble Statler, fully computerized on a 12-foot table.
Wow, that's quite a change, huh?
Oh.
So you were telling me a little bit before about the difference between machine guided and computerized long arm quilting now and the way it was looked at in the old days. Can you give us a little bit of what it was like in the old days? Well, you know.
All right. So I started quilting, officially joining two guilds, and they were traditional guilds. And one of the biggest things was that you had to make a quilt that was a bed-size quilt. And then the bed-size quilt had to be hand quilted. And so one of the
hand quilt, is that like hand stitching?
It's hand stitching.
Wow, okay.
Yes, we could use the machine to piece the top, but we had to hand quilt it. So we actually had a frame that was about 6 feet by 6 feet that was built, that was on tall legs. And then we would put the quilt on it, and we would have basting night where we would baste each other's quilts so that they could take it home and baste it by hand.
Wow.
So I was not up for that at all. I mean, literally, I never had a quilt basted ever, because I didn't have time in my life to do that.
Right.
To
Sounds
hand
rather
quilt a
fun.
quilt.
Yes. So how and why how'd you get around to long arming? What made you decide to go that route?
You want my long story or a short story?
Well, it depends on how long the long story is, you know.
I wanted to quilt my own quilts. All right. And of course, all that whole time, everybody was requiring that you hand stitch your quilt. But I didn't have any time. I was working full time. I had children. I was going around taking care of them. You know, there was just no way that I was going to hand quilt my quilts. But I didn't want to give my quilts to somebody else to quilt, because I saw that as something that I wanted to start and finish. So,
You didn't have time to do them, but you didn't want somebody else doing them.
right.
Okay.
Yep. I just one of those things that went full circle on me, actually, when I started the business. So I it got around the middle of, about 10 years into getting taking all of these classes and learning how to make tops and tops and tops and tops. It's kind of like one of those illnesses that quilters have, right? You got a new class coming up, a new technique, a new teacher, whatever, and so you make a new top and a new top and a new top and a new top. And I've got piles of them. I've got like 30 or 40 tops that need quilting. And so and now at this point in time, machine quilting was okay. Domestic machine quilting was okay. So then there was a whole bunch of classes for domestic machine quilting. And so I took all those classes, and then I started basting those quilts. You know how you do all of the basting with a pin basting, and then you're getting it all ready. Oh, my back. Oh my Lord, it hurts so bad because I didn't make small stuff. I made big quilts.
Mm,
Then you roll up the quilt, and then you shove it through the quilting machine, the domestic machine. And I would have bad cramps in my shoulders and everything would hurt. And one day I started crying because I was just so frustrated. I wanted to have this quilt. I remember exactly the quilt that I was doing and I wanted it done. And I just couldn't get it done because it hurt so bad. My body hurt so bad. And my husband walked in and he said, "What's wrong?" And I said, "I can't do this. It's not working."
mm,
He said, "Well, what do you need?" Because he understands tools. And he said, "What do you need to be able to do what you need?" And I said, "I need a long arm."
mm,
So that's when we went out and we investigated, and the Handy Quilter, the HQ16, fit the bill because it was adjustable in length, the table length, and it was small enough for that I could fit it into my room that I had. So I still had children here.
okay.
So that's what got me started. And that's when I started kind of doing my own quilt. The biggest thing was, though, I got involved in continued to get on with my charity quilts and quilts of honor and veteran quilts and all that. So this became more of a pantograph use, creating quilting quilts that other people had made that they gave to me and Susan. And on the weekends, we would quilt these quilts. And it came down to we were doing it so much that we came down to, okay, we're going to do 12 in one year. Then it was 15 in one year. Then it was 20. So we had certain goals that we wanted to meet to be giving back.
Got you. And this was hand guided at this time.
Right. So when it came down to me wanting to do more on my quilts, I'm still doing the rulers, I'm doing the hand guiding, but my vision is too big. I want more space to quilt on.
Couldn't fit it on that table, huh?
And it was only 10 inches. I want space.
That's
and
it.
the only and I went into my husband and I said, "Hubby, I want to trade in my HQ16 for a HQ Fusion because they have a trade-in thing." And because I need more space. I need more space for my vision of things that I wanted to quilt. And he said, "I thought you wanted a gamble." I said, "I don't know where you got that name from because that's been 10 years since I ever said anything about it, but you just opened the door." One month after that, it was ordered, and in November of 2018, on my birthday, it was delivered to my house. And I have been flying ever since.
Wow. And what year was that again?
2018.
Okay. And do you still have that one today?
I do. I do. That is Esther Ramona. ER. ER. Because Susan, whoever quilted with me on the HQ, was there when it was delivered and everything. And ER, she is a 35-year veteran nurse. So it was
Well,
it was kind of a play on words as well.
your stitcher's name is Esther Ramona. Okay. That's one of the more unique, if not the most unique name I've heard. That's no, yeah, I've heard some unique ones. Okay, so when you first got your Gamel, Cynthia, was it computerized from the get-go, or did you get was it hand guided?
The biggest and the most computerized I could possibly get. I got all the
Okay,
lights, all the all the wheels, everything that I could possibly get.
Okay, so you got top of the line at that time.
Hmm.
Okay. Um, so now at this time when so this was kind of a big jump for you, going to this high dollar gamble. Um, did at this time did you know that there was enough long arm business available in your town to support what you could do, or what was your view of that? Did you know that there were enough customers, or?
So the reason why I bought this was to be able to to meet the demands of the community, the charity quilts,
Oh,
the
yes.
veteran quilts, to do my own quilts, and to and kind of just just improve on my quilting. All right. And then when Susan and I were watching it being loaded up and put into the house, she looked at me and she said, "Why don't we start a business? Because, we're talking about a big chunk of change, and this was a good opportunity to possibly add some money into the bucket to pay off the cost of the machine." So I said, "Okay." So we went around and decided on what we were going to do. We named the business Finely Finished Longarm Quilting Services.
Okay.
I play on words. It could be finally and finally, but it actually is finally.
Gotcha, gotcha.
Um, so what I did was I went through and figured out, I already knew all of the long arm quilters. I mean, I've been in the quilting business, so to speak, and I belong to many different guilds. I had been in many quilt communities and committees. I had run quilt shows, so I knew 90% of the people that were around, all the quilt stores, everything. And so
Mm,
when I got involved or I started looking at possibly running a business, I already know who was around. And they were very strong quilters. I mean, everybody went to them. But
okay.
I really had to believe that what I had to offer was different, because knowing what I learned in being a real estate agent is that there's a million, zillion, trillion real estate agents in this world, right?
Mhm.
But it's the uniqueness of each individual and what they have to offer. And not everybody likes, you know, everybody, right? They just feel more comfortable being with certain people.
Mhm.
So just put myself out there. And it was really easy because people knew me, they came to me, and I'm a real estate agent. I work 7 days a week. So, but being a commercial real estate agent, typically we try to stay within the 5 days a week, which leaves me 2 days a week to quilt.
Okay.
So what I tell people when they come and they ask me if I will quilt something for them, I tell them that I have only the weekends to work on it, and they have to be tolerant enough to understand that if I have a call for a grandchild event or something, or a quilt show that I have to attend, that I will do that first before they will do the quilt.
Okay. So you still do real estate full time, right?
I own the business, yes.
Okay. And your quilting is reserved for the weekends.
Hmm.
You stay pretty busy, don't you?
I actually own and operate 4 different businesses. This is only just 2 of them.
Wow. Wow. So the with the quilting, you laid the groundwork for that by actually years of the charity quilts and things like that, and just being affiliated with the guilds and the people that you know in there. Is that right?
Yes, and um, knowing no one of the things that was really instrumental was that we did a lot of the charity quilts and the veterans quilts, right?
Mhm.
And I knew all the people that were making these, and they would work them in groups, right? And then and one of the gals who was a long armor usually quilted them all. But after a while, she was not able to handle them all, so she funneled them to me. And because I was doing Susan and I were doing them for free, we would we would do certain number each each week, and we would send them over back to them. Well, the ladies were seeing the quality of quilting that we were producing, and that was like just like a major advertisement, right? Because now they were seeing what they and they liked it. So they're
Yeah.
like, can you quilt my quilt? And I encouraged them to go to Susan because Susan was the long armor and she was the one that was creating this group. But there were times when she couldn't manage a quilt because it was too big for her machine. And so then she would send it off to me. And then if somebody tried to come to me direct, I would say, please go to Susan, talk to her, and she will organize, you know, working with me until she tells me otherwise. So, and then after a while, Susan retired and she sent everybody to me.
Oh, okay. Okay.
And at that same quilt store that she worked in, which is in the same city that I have my real estate office in, is a I knew the person who started the quilt store, and so that my name was put on the list of quilters, and it was on their website. And lo and behold, I was the only one that answered the phone.
Oh,
Nobody answered the phone. I mean, that's just like basic business, right? You got to answer your phone.
so for the people that are watching, would you say that that's a kind of a key thing that they probably should do is answer their phone?
Yes, yes. There's lots of, I hate to say this, but there's a lot of quilters that just don't. And if you want business, all you need to do is answer the phone. If you don't want their business, tell them that here is another place to go to look for the business. All right. I mean, to give your business to. But
Okay.
if you don't answer the phone, they will never call back again.
Very good point. Very good point. Cynthia, I wanted to ask you, uh, did did you originally when you got your Gamel in 2018, did you finance your machine or how did the funding of that go?
Nordstrom credit card.
Mhm.
Well, there's like these wonderful points when you buy something. All right. So I got all these Nordstrom points on there, and I got all I had so many gift cards to give out to people for Christmas. It was wonderful, right? And
Yeah.
then the next month I paid it off.
Wow. Very nice. Very nice.
So I made money on that deal.
Yeah. Wow. That's fantastic. Yeah. Um, so for the people that are watching this right now, do you how many hours a week would you say you actually, I know you say you work on the weekends doing quilting. How much time do you put into quilting?
I can easily put in about 20 hours over the weekend.
Wow. That's a long weekend there. You really do work full time, over full time.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, my real estate, a lot of times I don't come home until 9 or 10 o'clock at night. And then, but I think that really having the gamble has opened up so many doors that when 6 o'clock in the morning on Saturday and Sunday morning comes along, it's so easy to get out of bed and jump right in there and say, Esther Ramona, what's our project for the day?
So you really enjoy working on your Statler, huh?
Oh, I do. I do.
Excellent. Now as far as charging for the people that are watching, do you charge by the hour, by the square inch? How does that work?
Typically in this area, it's 2.5 cents per square inch. I charge $25 to fix a back or put it back together if necessary. And I charge $25 to put binding on the front of the quilt.
Okay.
I send out, if they want the binding all the way on, I send it out to a friend of mine who will hand stitch it. And if they want a fancy t-shirt quilt or a specialty quilt, like one of them wanted baby clothes or things like that, I have 3 or 4 people that like to do those things, and I'll send them out to that.
Okay. And so those type of quilts, you'll refer them out to some of your friends there.
Right.
Um,
Most of the kind of quilting that I do is edge to edge, only because I think that the budgeting on quilting, making quilts, kind of, it's okay to spend a lot of money making, making the quilt top.
mhm,
But when you get down to the quilting, it's like it's scrimping. You just want to barely pay a small amount of money just to get it quilted so that you can get it done and get on to the next thing.
mm,
And I always encourage my people to think about making a quilt with the quilting in mind.
right.
And look at the quilt designs that I have and see if they can create something, like they like the certain quilting design, and create something to fall within that quilting design.
Hmm. Okay. And do you do any hand guiding these days, or is it all pretty much edge to edge or
Give me anything to do and I will do it.
okay?
Yeah.
Um, what would you say your ratio is like hand guided versus edge to edge?
The edge to edge actually is 90%. The hand guided often is um ruler based, and every now and then I get something that somebody want. This one gal, she always gives me, she gives me something and she says, I want it custom. I want it custom. She just gives everything she gives me. She says, I want it custom. And that's, there's no talk about it. She just wants it custom. And that's when I have to drop the belt. Is it drop the belts? I guess that's it.
Yeah, you have to drop the belts.
And it actually, I have to kind of get myself used to it again, because the machine, what's amazing is that this machine is like so heavy. How much does it weigh? 50 pounds, 60 pounds?
70, probably, yeah, 70 pounds or so.
And it moves so easily when the belts are dropped.
Yeah, you can move it with just your fingers. With that thing, it rolls very well. Um, so so do you charge different? How do you charge for custom stuff?
I use about 3 or 3.5 cents per square inch, depending upon the complexity.
Mm-hmm.
She actually gave me a compass, two, a table runner with 2 compasses on it. And I did an intense quilting design, all free motion rulers, that she wanted. She wanted on it. One of the things that I do is I prepare everything up front when it comes to custom quilting. So I already know all the designs that I'm going to put in there. I take the photo, I import it, I put all the designs on top of it. So I already know my roadmap.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want any surprises in there, getting stuck
Okay. Have it
somewhere.
planned out. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And also it's really important for the customer to know what the end result is going to be. They they really appreciate it. Even if it's an edge to edge. They really super appreciate getting that vision. So then when they get the quilt back, they're already expecting it and they're not disappointed.
So you're able to kind of show them visually what it's going to look like.
Yes, the CS7 allows us to do that. I set up edge to edge on all of the designs that they want, and I put it up on the CS7, even if it isn't imported, the photo's not imported, and I still put that on there. And they say, oh, I don't like the lines up on this, or I don't like the way that it, the way that it connects, right?
Mhm.
And then I like it less quilting, less dense. And
Yeah,
it's really hard when you're looking at a laptop and it's microscopic.
yeah,
So
right.
I have to enlarge it so that the grid is an inch. And I say, okay, this is what we're actually looking at. And you only see like a very small part of the quilting. Oh,
Gotcha, gotcha. Well, so Cynthia, like yearly, do you know about how many quilts you normally do?
there was a time when I did maybe 20 or 30 quilts, and then one time I did 60 quilts in a year.
Okay. So it kind of vary based on the year
Yeah,
or
when we were kind of going into COVID, there was a lot of freak out about, getting together, and then also like touching something that somebody else touched. So,
yeah,
when you're like everything is in your house and you're handling it at all, how do you sterilize a quilt?
right, right.
But I can tell you after COVID, when people actually felt like they were comfortable with allowing other people to touch their items,
Hmm.
suddenly everything came out of the closet. And I'm still getting that right now. I'm having people bring me 9, 10 quilts at a time.
Oh, wow. So would you say you have as much business as you need right now? Do you have to turn any away?
I never turn business away.
Yeah.
I only I tell them that they cannot restrict the deadline. If the deadline is at a point and I cannot meet it, for sure I cannot meet it, I tell them that they really need to go someplace else that can meet that deadline. And I'm talking like a week, or something shorter than that.
Okay. What would you say is your normal turnaround time?
Sometimes I can get it done in a couple hours, and other times I can get it done in 4 weeks, 5 weeks, depending upon like one quilt I have right now. It's a purple quilt. It's called the Purple Thing, right?
Purple thing.
It's a quilt top that my customer bought, and it's kind of cool, but it really requires a lot of thinking on what you're gonna do with it. and
Gotcha, gotcha.
and so yeah, it's lingering. It hangs up on my wall, and I look at it as to how, kind of like the vision of what I'm going to do with it.
Gotcha, gotcha. Holly is asking a question. When you said 20 or 30 quilts, she said, is that just the quilts that she charges for, or does that include donation and charity quilts?
Those are the charging ones.
Okay.
Yeah, the charity quilts go in between.
Okay. So you just squeeze those in where you can, huh?
Yeah, yeah. And those don't require me to spend an hour or 2 hours with the customer kind of planning out their quilt design, the
Mm,
thread, and then talking about where the quilt came from, why they made it, if it was the mom's quilt and she passed away and now it's a special, item, and just kind of like all those emotions that go along with quilts.
right. Gotcha. So, well, Cynthia, what would you say has been what is the hardest part of growing a business like this? What would you say would be a difficult part about it?
So in my advice to others, is that kind of what your question is?
Yeah, this and our target audience is a lot of them. There are people that are either starting businesses themselves or in the earlier stages or maybe thinking about it. So what would you say are some of the hard parts?
So when I look on Facebook or other things where people post their anxieties, one of the things that I don't feel is that anxiety that they're worried that the people aren't going to like their quilting, that they made a mistake and they don't know how to tell their customer, or all these different kinds of where they're in a small town and the other people are taking over all the quilting and there's nobody coming to them and they don't know why. And I think the biggest thing is that anxiety, and that anxiety transfers over to your customers, and your customers don't enjoy that, so that they will move on.
Gotcha.
So for me, I started real estate over 38 years ago, and there was literally no business, literally no business. And I my joke was that I was going to stand on the corner with one of those signs that says, "Go over here, look at my property," because I needed to show the landlord that I was actually showing his property. And I literally did not have anybody to show the property to. So whenever anybody actually even like just called because they were interested, I would go overboard and I would push and try to make the sale, even though there wasn't a sale there to make.
Hmm.
So what my suggestion is to back off, to really enjoy yourself, enjoy what you're doing, show the people that you enjoy what you're doing, and show them how they can enjoy their own quilting, because there's a lot of people that are very don't say nice things about themselves
Hmm.
and their quilting.
Yes.
So let your business grow organically. That's what I've done. You have highs and you have lows, and it goes over year, month over month, or week over week. And sometimes you don't hear any from anybody for months, and then all of a sudden you have 40 quilts and you don't know what to do with them. All right. You can't say, don't, I'm not going to do them. Because if you say that, then they're going to assume from then on that you're not capable of handling those quilts, and you're going to go someplace else. So you've got to be more clear about your timing and what you're going to be able to do for them. And if you are telling them that, I've got this amount of time and I can do this and this and this, and you're about here, is that good for you? And most people will go along with it. It'll be fine because they already know what the plan is.
Okay.
And that's really, really hard for people to understand how to deal with it. But the best people to actually give you business are those people that refer to you. All right.
Okay.
They're the ones that will brag about you. This last quilt show, I had a huge quilt. I must have spent a whole month on this quilt because it was all ruler work. And
Hmm.
it was a huge quilt. It was king size. It was white background with boxes, 1-inch boxes diagonally,
Hmm.
colors. And I did all of those diagonal quilting from corner to corner on all of those boxes. She stood in front of that quilt and she told everybody that I quilted it. She was just so proud of it, and she got a nice award for it and everything. So the people who you take time out for, they will sing your praises. Just let them do it.
Excellent. And that, yeah, I know that, and that's an important principle that you're speaking for a lot of the people watching, and I appreciate that, Cynthia. Cynthia, I have another couple of questions here. Holly is asking, when you work with a customer, do you have a form that you fill out or a file that you save with all the designs and thread colors, etc.? How do you figure the price when you are the Consult.
So I have a form that I made up, and I sit my customer down in a chair and say, fill out your name, address, phone number, even if I already know it all, right? I have them write it all in.
Okay.
And then I say, sit here now. It says top. So I go and measure the top. And I say the top is this size, this by this, but the back is this. And if they have batting, then I have her write down the batting. And we lay out the top, and I say, okay, so what color thread would you like? And then they say, oh, I don't know, and I'll be like, go over there, pull out all the thread you want out of there, throw it on the top, see whatever just kind of makes you happy. All right. So they kind of throw, like, oh, can I touch this thread? I said, yes, throw it out there. I don't care how much you throw, you just throw it out there. And then you'll find that they'll just pick out one or two of them, and you'll say, okay, these are all gone. Okay, now you decide on that. Let's go sit down and look at the designs. And then I open up Pattern Cloud and I look at all my designs. I have like 1600 designs. So, we're just going like, oh, okay, but a lot of times they'll refine it. They'll tell me that they want puppies, or they want dogs, or they want, something else is specific. But yesterday I had a gal who she made a quilt that was for somebody else, a 40-year-old who wasn't in the colors that she usually makes. She was concerned about the designs. She just didn't feel comfortable with what she was doing, because she wanted to make it right, but she didn't know how to make it right. And I was like, okay, I know what you're talking about, because I got the same situation. I can make a quilt in 5 minutes for myself, but I can't do that for my daughter, because they have all of their certain colors, the certain designs, all that sort of stuff. So I said, let's go through it, and then let's just see what catches your eye. Well, in the end, because I really wanted to go more modern for her, in the end, I said, let's look at Baptist fan, because Baptist fan is very traditional, but it is a modern design. And then I showed her one that had the pearls in it, and she says, I don't want bubbles. I said, all right, we won't have to put bubbles in it. And then she said, well, you know what? It's okay to put bubbles in there. And I'm like, okay. I mean, this is 2 hours into this, and I'm like, okay, I'll get it. And then the cool thing about setting up an E to E design is that you can put in duplicates of one design, and then put in another design. And then when you control click, 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 and then you put them all in the E to E design, there's 4 and 1, 4 and another, 4 and another, and it spreads it out so that they're random. And that is exactly what she wanted. But it took forever to get that pulled out of her.
Right. So it's important for you think it's important to spend a little bit of time making sure that and the customer knows what they want.
The other thing is, I have them write down the thread, the type of thread, the color number, the color on the thread, on the upper thread, and the bobbin thread. I have them write down the design. So they're invested in what we've done. They've made the choice, and it's all in their own handwriting.
Gotcha. Diana is asking a question. She says, how do you store the quilts in your queue? I just received 6 from a client. What would you say to Diana?
And I have shelves, and I just keep piling them up. Oh, and I also tell my people that I don't necessarily work one quilt after another. So if a quilt is not in, I'm not in love with doing it at that moment, I will pick a quilt that I just got and put it on the rack, because I'm more efficient doing something that I can do quickly. And then when that quilt comes in and I'm like, I'm ready for that. You got to get in the headspace
Got
to
to be
deal
in
with
the
it.
zone. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, Cynthia, is there any changes in technology that you think that makes it easier today than when you started? And do you have a change in technology coming your way? Did I read that right?
Yes.
What do you have happening on your machine there?
Send is on its way. They haven't told me when, but I am looking so much for it.
Okay. Yeah, I I was kind of looking at your record before I called, and I said, "Oh, she's about to get an ascend, but she does not have it yet." So, yeah,
Yeah, I
you
even I even left all the days open. So if they decide to come in during the week, I'm just gonna cancel everything because I want that in my house. I want it. I want that Esther Ramona. She's waiting. She wants to be top dog.
so are you gonna change her name or anything, or add anything to her to her identity when she becomes an ascend?
I don't know. That's a
Something
good
to think about.
idea.
Give you something to think
Yeah.
about.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, let me see what I've had a really good time talking with you. We got a few more minutes here. Um, Cynthia, can you tell us who's been your biggest cheerleader or support system, and how important has that been?
Well, of course, my husband. He's the one taking me out, getting that quilt machine, and he has become my official quilt job inspector.
Quilt. Oh, so he's got a role in this now.
He decided that he needed to see everything, because if he spent that much money on buying that machine, it was going to have to do everything perfect. And
Got
so
it.
he checks all the stitches, all the designs, all the quilts that come in, and before they go out, he has to inspect it. Susan, who's my sidekick for working on the handy quilter for 10 years. She's still with me, and she is got an infectious laugh, and no matter what we do or how sideways things go, we can always laugh and enjoy ourselves. I have a friend, Cynthia. She does the community service quilts. Laura, she's a piecer that won't quit, and I don't care what it is. She did a dinner plate dahlia quilt, king size, and it was flatter than flat, and I loved quilting that one. And then Susan Denton, who is the long armor, she now has taken on another group, and she's still sending me referrals. So just it goes all over. People are just caring people that support me in every way.
So it sounds like you've got a support system that has expanded over the years, and it means a lot to you. Um, for the people watching, Cynthia, is there anything that you can think of that you wish somebody would have told you when you first started that would be valuable for them to know?
Um, okay. So there's two things I want to tell you. Um, how addicting and fun it is to work with a Gamble Statler long arm quilting machine, especially with Susan, who makes me laugh every minute of the way. That for a late riser, I was going to look forward to jumping out of bed at 6 a.m. Saturday and Sunday mornings so Esther Ramona and I could decide on what adventure in quilting would be for that day. That Gamble would develop new feet that would allow us to couch and embroider with ease. that are designs that are set up for placemats, table runners, stuffed animals, clothing, bags, and whatever your mind can create. That every quilt I get to quilt is a new experience, and I fall in love with this wonderful opportunity every time. And that hubby, Kevin, has become a self-appointed quality control expert who inspects each and every quilt before it is released from the quilting studio to make sure that it meets the highest standards. That my joy, that my joy in creating is without bounds. And this year, that I was able to take out $4,000 out of my quilting fund and put that towards 1,000 and buy $1,000 CDs for each one of my grandchildren towards their life savings, towards their life.
Wow. That is an inspirational list there. Wow. Well, Cynthia, so you got your Gamel in 2018, and you know that there's a bunch of people watching right now live, and there will be a bunch of people watching the recordings as we go. And is there what piece of advice would you give to someone who wants to do this stuff that you've talked about doing today? And do you think it's still possible to do it today?
All right, well, this is what I wrote. These machines are a wealth of opportunity. All you have to do is open your mind. There are so many people that share their expertise online. You just need to figure out what it is you want to do. I know that I have fallen in love with creating with the Gamma Statler. So I make trades with expert piecers to create tops for me to quilt and hand stitchers to finish my projects beautifully. Remember that that's not what I was going to allow myself when I started.
Right.
These people, beautiful people, allow me to use Esther Ramona at her highest and best use. So figure out what it is that you want to do. If you want to quilt quilts and you just want to just do edge to edge, then be the best edge to edger. And if you want to do who is it? Chris Prego? She did the classes on Gamel site. Perigo, I think it was her name, Christine
Yeah,
Perigo.
yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
And she just passed away. All right.
Yes.
I still pay the $5 a month to see her class because I want to watch her. She is such an amazing designer, and she has so many things hidden in her mind. And I feel like every time I watch that, I learn something new. So give yourself the opportunity to learn and to find out what it is that you can do. I have taught serging. I have taught machines using your sewing machine. I have taught machine embroidery. You know, anything that has to do with machines. And so this falls right within the whole opportunities. You can you just kind of join everything together and make it all work.
Wow. Well, Cynthia, thank you so much for sharing your experience with us. I know you've inspired a lot of people that are watching. Before we go, is there any way that people can either get in touch with you or see your stuff, what you have?
Well, I started using social media, but I literally ran out of time.
Gotcha.
So I actually been thinking about it, but I'm gonna have to hire somebody to do that. To keep it so that it actually is the quality that I expect it to be. You know, you know what I'm talking about? I just want to
Yeah.
match it with what kind of things that I feel need to be a good reflection on what I do for people.
Mhm.
And just to have a spotty social media connection is not really that great. And I can't keep it up right now. So as I said, my business name is Finely Finished Longarm Quilting Services. And my phone number and all comes up when you Google it, but that's just about as good as it gets right
Okay.
now. I show up on quilt stores lists and on other people and guild lists. And I do want to say that we have in California, we have a Northern California Statler Stitcher group, which actually is really quite interesting because we all use and are relatively in competition with one another in many ways. You'd think that if we get together, we would be in competition, but actually we are extremely supportive. There's about 50 to 60 people in the group, and we're very extremely supportive with our machines and our skills.
Wow. Wow. That's wonderful. So people get in contact with the guilds that are around you in the area where you are. And yeah, Cynthia, I want to thank you so much for joining us this week and sharing your experience with us. And we look forward to getting you set up with your new ascend on Esther Ramona, and best of luck with that. So we're going to go ahead and say goodbye for now. And thank you everybody for joining us. Cynthia, thank you so much. And until next week, you guys have happy quilting. Thank you.